People are already comparing this to the NBA's documentary on Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, The Last Dance. He has officially announced the third and final one will be around the corner. He leveraged announcing that on the Fortnite live stream, dropping his first album since his split with celebrity rapper Cardi B, this one being named Kiari. Welcome back to Behold Pop Culture, the show where we take a look at prominent people, figures, and events from pop culture today and keep you up to date on all the biggest news that's taken place in our culture, making sure that you're looped in and can be a part of any conversation that approaches. This has been a long time coming, returning to do this podcast, and I'm excited and grateful for anyone who's joining me on this journey. This week, we're going to start with our sports quick hits, starting with a underratedly significant retirement that took place in the NBA. NBA legend, and yes, I am deeming him a legend, John Wall, officially retired from the NBA. He was one of the biggest stars of his prime. He was right there with Curry, Westbrook, Derrick Rose. Name your big flashy point guard. John Wall was in that conversation, dunking, leading the Washington Wizards to the playoffs, hitting game winners, selling shoes that kids actually wanted to wear. He called it a wrap on his career. So if you have any memories of the significance that John Wall had in basketball culture, it might be worth taking a look back on. On a more modern front, the NFL has been heating up because the preseason is coming to its conclusion. It is a time where a lot of teams are figuring out if their rookies are good, if their new coaches know what they're doing, and at the end of preseason, cutting a bunch of players. One of the biggest stories of the NFL preseason was with the Indianapolis Colts, as they went into the preseason not knowing who their quarterback was going to be. Was it going to be their top 5 drafted quarterback a few years ago who they invested all this capital into? He's supposed to be arguably one of the most athletic quarterbacks to ever touch the NFL. Or Daniel Jones, a player who saw some success with the New York Giants, but for all intents and purposes, got ran out the building. Well, this week we got the answer to that because the Indianapolis Colts announced that Daniel Jones is officially their quarterback to start the season. And this isn't we'll just let him start out, see how he does. No, he actually won the job. And he will get every opportunity to prove that he deserves it, as Anthony Richardson, the young, up-and-coming, now couple year into his career quarterback, is looming and praying that the right opportunity comes for him to show how talented he really is. And the MLB teams are just starting to hit their stride, wrapping up the season, coming to its conclusion soon, as people are jockeying for the top slot in their respective divisions. Players like Shohei Ohtani continue to be dominant. Some teams that know they're really not competing for a championship are trying to see their talent in their young players getting called up for the minors, one of which this week was the biggest pitching prospect left, Bubba Chandler, as the Pittsburgh Pirates called him up, a long-awaited call-up, as they just hit a home run with their Paul Skeens call-up last year. Bubba Chandler debuted with a remarkable 4-inning save, showing that he's not just ready to pitch 1, maybe 2 innings, but he wants to be a starter in the major league. He was not just the first Pittsburgh Pirate to record a 4-inning save in their first game in the MLB. He's the first to ever do it in MLB history. So he has a bright future ahead if he can keep up the good work with this hot start. Lastly, for the quick hits, possibly the biggest star in boxing, I hate to say it, is Jake Paul. And I only hate to say it because a lot of boxing purists would call that a disgrace, someone who didn't come up through the ranks and win any major world title. Being the biggest star in your sport usually is not a good thing. But it happens to potentially be the case now, as Jake Paul announced his next big fight. And it's not an actual fight, it's an exhibition, but he'll be taking on a boxing superstar today in Gervonta Davis, someone who is 6-7 inches shorter than him, way more skilled, has significantly more accolades in the sport, but like Jake Paul is probably doing this to make some good money. It'll likely be entertaining, but just like when Jake's brother Logan Paul boxed Floyd Mayweather, they probably aren't going to be aiming to do any type of significant damage to each other. So it's notable. It's something that will bring eyes because Jake Paul is massive, Gervonta Davis is massive in the boxing world, but will it actually be a high quality, make sure you clear your weekend event? That remains to be seen. With the quick hits out the way, there's only one real major topic going on in sports, and I briefly mentioned it. It's the NFL season approaching. Now that the preseason is wrapped up, people can fire off their hot takes about Shedeur Sanders being worth the draft pick that he was taken so late or not. He took a pretty nasty sack in his last game. The Giants' Jackson Dart being already the best quarterback in New York. Probably need to pump the brakes on that one. And the Commanders running back Bill Krosky-Merritt is already the best running back in the NFL. The hot takes are flying. Everyone can look like a superstar in preseason when you're playing against backups. But the real takeaway is that it's great to see when you're a fan of one of these teams, your young players showing some promise before playing in an actual game. It's better to look good than bad. And it's better to look like you're actually invested in the team, as you see many of these preseason rosters having players who might not even make the team still showing the passion and support for their teammates on the sidelines, even if it's a temporary relationship. With the season right around the corner, the Dallas Cowboys also dropped their official Netflix documentary on America's football team. But this isn't a typical documentary of just highlighting Super Bowls, cheerleaders, flashing lights for the most valuable sports team in the world. No, this is a drama. This is about all the behind the scenes things that were going on while they were going to every single Super Bowl for a period, while they were garnering eyes from everyone in the football world, even if you absolutely hated them. When Jerry Jones was building this team up from just another NFL team to must-see TV. People are already comparing this to the NBA's documentary on Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, The Last Dance. But quietly, there's a growing population of people who are saying that this documentary on the Cowboys is even better than The Last Dance. It has even more drama because it not only documents multiple iterations of the Dallas Cowboys, including the current version, but it has the superstars talking deeply about it, just like The Last Dance. Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, the guys that you remember being superstars when they played for the Cowboys. So all the Cowboys fans who have Netflix, I'm sure, will find a reason to watch, tune in, form their own opinion. But there's some real drama. We're talking about Jerry Jones divorcing from iconic figures, him refusing to pay certain players and then making them the highest paid player at their respective position. There's a lot of drama. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that allowed the Cowboys to elevate into being such a valuable franchise. And even to this day, the season has not even started yet, and they are already involved with drama as they refuse to pay their top defensive player, Micah Parsons, right now. So this is a team that has been drenched in drama for basically their entire existence. In The Last Dance, the Chicago Bulls were drenched in that for the Jordan era. There was a lull, maybe some for the Derrick Rose era, and we're back in the lull. The Cowboys are the greatest show on earth every single year, even though they haven't won a Super Bowl in an eternity. So I will be tuning into this documentary. From all the people I trust, they recommend it. I would check this out if you're even remotely interested in the story behind the biggest franchise in sports, not just the NFL. In music this week, the quick hits are, as they typically will be, what dropped. It begins with Offset, the former member of the Migos, dropping his first album since his split with celebrity rapper Cardi B, this one being named Kiari. As many artists tend to do later in their career, he's gotten more personal. He's telling you exactly what he thought when we saw these major public events. Most particularly, he is still grappling with, understandably so, the passing of essentially his brother, another member of the Migos, in Takeoff. So he's been dealing with that, the split with his partner in Cardi B, and he's still a father to several kids. That's the backdrop of him entering a stage that is honestly comparable to Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Now, I will tell you off the bat, it's not nearly as deep as that project is and was for where Kendrick was in his life at that time, but this might be the new meta. Artists, when they get older, diving into their bag about personal issues that you've seen, personal issues that you haven't, and really turning their albums into a deep, intricate therapy session. It's not a formula that we haven't seen before, but it's certainly a formula that will get me to listen at least once. In addition to that, we got a similar level of reflection from the more underground rapper Earl Sweatshirt, someone who came up with a name you might recognize in Tyler the Creator or Frank Ocean. They were together in the group Odd Future, and Earl Sweatshirt at that time was arguably the best rapper of them. And he maintained an underground support system from fans who respected that art of his craft. And he was someone who has continued to evolve in that, someone who likes to rap over generally hypnotic beats, but ones that force you to really listen to what he's saying. He returns this time with his happiest project to date, this one being called Live, Laugh, Love. He has his partner, he's becoming a father. There's a lot for him to be happy about, and he reflects on that on this new project. To switch gears a little bit, still in the quick hits, Laufey, the pop jazz artist, dropped a new album as well. There have been albums coming out every single week from fairly notable artists. For her, her new album is called A Matter of Time, as the expectation there is for her to dive into more of the relatively traditional jazz sounds. If you even have a slight taste in jazz, I highly recommend her work. And if it's anything like she's previously done, this is an album to tune into. But with that announced, the main topic of conversation in music, in my estimation over this past week, has been Chance the Rapper's new album, Starline. For those unfamiliar, Chance the Rapper was once upon a time a superstar. He came into the game by dropping a couple mixtapes as this Chicago rapper who was bubbling alongside a few other artists in Chicago that just wanted to make a name for themselves. They had dreams of superstardom, but for them, being on a XXL freestyle was major. Being played on the radio was major. So he had been teetering until his mixtape Acid Rap took off, being one of the most listened to mixtapes arguably of all time to this day. That took him into an area where a lot of people were recognizing him as a potential up-and-coming star. But where things jumped up to a whole nother stratosphere was when he unexpectedly popped up on the song Ultralight Beam by Kanye West. He delivered possibly the best verse of that year, one that was the most memorable verse on the album, The Life of Pablo. And with the momentum of that, he parlayed that into his third and final mixtape, Coloring Book, one that went on to feature major stars like, again, Kanye West, Lil Wayne, Young Thug, 2 Chainz, Justin Bieber, etc., etc. This album went on to be the first mixtape and only mixtape to win a Grammy when he went on to win Best Rap Album. At that point, the sky was the limit for him. Everyone was expecting, if you did all of this with a mixtape, what are you going to do when you have an actual album coming out? Unfortunately for him, that level of expectation, goal setting, and momentum seemed to drown him. When he dropped his debut album, The Big Day, it just got wrecked. People were questioning if his heart was still in it. His rapping seemed to drop down a tier. And generally, the perspective was maybe there were some bright spots, but it was a bit messy of a debut project. Way below what was expected of him coming off such a massive start to his career. And unfortunately, it pokes so many holes into him. I can only imagine mentally how difficult that was to deal with. But in the eyes of the people, he couldn't come back unless he was once again exceptional. It has been many, many years since he dropped an album. So he returns, this time with much less fanfare, as when you disappear for 5-6 years, what do you expect? He drops this album, Starline. This sophomore album of his is widely being recognized as a great bounce back. This is probably his most ambitious and personal album to date, as he had a lot to reflect on, whether that be dealing with being outside of the mainstream for so long because of what happened, or just the fact that he's gotten older. People may not remember this, but he's in his 30s. With this album, he was able to tap into inspiration that he got from trips to Ghana, Jamaica, artwork that he had been exploring on this time away. Blending these global influences while still maintaining his Chicago roots, both in what he talks about, the way he raps, and actual features on the project. His lyrics are being praised as by far his best in years. He's accompanied this album with the announcement of his tour starting in September. So if you have any glimmer of hope on Chance the Rapper returning to the best version of him that you've heard, this album is worth checking out. On the film side of things, there's no quick hits this time around because there's only 2 movies that have entered the sphere of culture worth discussing. One is Weapons, that continues to dominate at the box office. It's a horror film that is exploring the disappearance of one classroom of students in a small town. As someone who's seen the movie, if you're at all a fan of the horror genre, you have to go see this. It doesn't need to be a 10 out of 10 like the critics are saying, but it's definitely not a bad movie. It is an experience to say the least. And the performance that it's having in the box office, which is stellar for a horror movie, is much well deserved. The second movie that came out that's been garnering attention, Spike Lee and Denzel Washington's reimagining of the Akira Kurosawa movie, High and Low. It's a more modern take that is actually going to be coming to Apple TV in a couple of weeks, right around the corner. So if you don't get a chance to make it to the movies, as you should, to go watch it, it'll be available at home for you to check out. This week, there was a gaming event called Gamescom ONL, where many new games had their opportunity to spotlight what's coming down the pipeline. Too many to name, but one that you'll recognize is Call of Duty Black Ops 7 having their reveal trailer. They are feeling a little bit of heat, as recently Battlefield 6 dropped a beta where a lot of content creators have been saying that this feels good. They're recognizing the things that have gone well for the Battlefield franchise and trying to double down on those. Battlefield might make a real dent in sales this time around, as this will be the first time that a Call of Duty and Battlefield game have came out in the same year since 2021. So there's real competition that'll be going on this time around. And Call of Duty knew that, which is why they had to make sure that they were sharp with their trailer. They introduced their open campaign this time with 4-player co-op available, a new arcadey zombie mode, and unfortunately, it didn't make as big of a dent as they might have liked. Call of Duty will definitely sell well, as it always does. But is there a chance that this year there's more of a balance between the people that are playing Call of Duty heavily versus Battlefield? Competition breeds greatness, and I think that it will be a win-win situation for the fans of both sides if both games are of a high quality. A couple other notable series that announced games was Resident Evil, with their new game Requiem being announced, another horror game, and a long list of very successful ones as that franchise struggles to ever miss, to be honest. It looks like a terrifying new story with the first-person mode available. So if you were planning on playing this in the dark, maybe rethink that decision. My personal favorite reveal of the week was Lego Batman: Legacy of the Dark Knight. To put it simply, Lego games are always a ton of fun, but this one in particular is a open world Batman game. Yes, you can swing around Gotham City taking down villains. And as someone who's experienced the Arkham series, which is some of the most innovative superhero games of all time, with those Batman series that were on console, this looks like a similar version of that. Take the Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight great games that we were able to get from the studio Rocksteady and reimagine a Lego version of that, which is a little bit more goofy, a little bit more jokes, but the mechanics look good, the graphics look great as always, and I'm excited to see more gameplay from that because there might be a lot of people who, when no one's looking, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-olds who are going to be playing this Lego game because it looks that good. The announcement of these games might have actually masked something that went a bit under the radar, which was Sony PlayStation announcing that they're increasing the prices for their PlayStations by $50, seemingly as a result of dealing with some issues with getting them overseas. So this is something that's going to be laid on the American buyers of the console. This might prompt some concern for particularly holiday shoppers, as this is the time where people are picking it up. But we're nearing the end of the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X era. And there's real questions to be asked about whether or not Xbox held their own in this console generation. But it's not over yet. The PlayStation 6 is in the works. It hasn't come out yet. So for the time being, it's unfortunate that people that haven't gotten the chance to get a PlayStation yet and desire to will not have to eat a bigger price tag on that. People even more tapped in than me on this think that there will be a ripple effect of this down to the Nintendo Switch 2, as those prices could increase heading into holiday season as well. So that might be something to look out for if you were planning on making any console purchases. Lastly here, another one of Fortnite's big collaborations came to its head this week as Twitch streamer, YouTuber, content creator, actor Kai Cenat had his Fortnite collaboration go live. As at this event, there was a major sphere where they had videos of him dancing, doing all types of emotes, and showing off that he will be getting his own skin in the game, the latest in a long list of celebrities that you can play as in Fortnite, as they were sort of the innovator in that. Call of Duty later followed along. That rapidly went viral, especially among young Fortnite players, as it was one of the highest trafficked live streams that Fortnite has received because of how popular Kai is. His skin bundle is expected to drop in September, and he leveraged the high traffic to announce that his most major streaming event, which is the Mafiathon, where he streams for 30 days straight, where all types of celebrities and events coming, those were some of the biggest events that have ever happened in streaming history. He has officially announced the third and final one will be around the corner. He leveraged announcing that on the Fortnite live stream. So many people will be waiting patiently for what is likely to be one of the most entertaining live streams of all time. At least that's the expectation that he's earned at this point with the quality of streams that he's able to produce, not just because he's entertaining, but the level of detail that he and his team goes into to make sure every single moment is entertaining. That will certainly be a pop cultural moment to behold. Thank you for tuning in this week. I will be releasing every single Tuesday on all audio platforms. And now we'll be releasing the video version on YouTube at Behold Pop Culture every Wednesday. So if you're at all interested in getting the video version of this podcast, tune into that. And there might be some short form content being paired with it. We're on to a new beginning here. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I am appreciative and grateful for anyone who joins me in this journey. Have a great week. And this is Behold Pop Culture.